Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to be looking at the new Sonic the Hedgehog articulated action figures, Dr. Eggman, released by Jakks this year, and they're available exclusively at Target and Meijer stores for $10 each. On the back, shows you the different points of articulation on Eggman. He has 13 points. And then there's a description that says, an evil genius, Dr. Eggman, has been battling Sonic for world domination. His intelligence allows him to build armies, mechanize landscapes, and construct weapons. The other figures in the set include Sonic and Tails, which we already reviewed, and Eggman, which we are reviewing right now. So now the only figure I need to review left is Shadow, and thankfully I actually do have him. We're gonna open this figure up and have a closer look at him. So Dr. Eggman comes with a spike trap. There's this little hole below to put it in the Green Hill Zone playset for the smaller figures. The spikes are made of rubber. Here, let me move Robotnik out of the way so you can... Yeah, the spikes are all made of this rubber material, a much harder rubber. And I don't feel like it can really hurt you. Like, if it was like a figure arts figure of Eggman, like, that definitely would hurt you. Definitely not my favorite accessory from the first wave, but, I mean, it is alright. The main attraction here is Dr. Eggman. For comparison, I do have the bendable figure, and they're both in the same scale. And the sculpt is pretty similar, except that the head sculpt is a lot more different compared to this one, which looks much better. Also, not to mention that the yellow, you know, on his glove cuffs and on those buttons, they're like a bright yellow compared to the one on the figure, which looks much more a little orangey. But I think that's probably accurate to Dr. Robotnik, actually. One thing I complained about the Eggman bendable figure when I reviewed him a while ago was that he wasn't very posable in the arm area. He was more posable with like the legs or something. But I feel like Eggman just looks better as just an articulated action figure. So yeah, I definitely think the Jakks figure definitely is better in my opinion in terms of the articulation and sculpt. I didn't feel like wanting him to get the Sonic action figure out for comparison, you know, just because he's kind of stuck in the display. But I do have the bendable figure out, which is around the same height. And yeah, I feel like because I have a scale chart of all the Sonic characters that came from like a style guide or something. And usually when I look at action figures, I try to judge the scaling of the figures by by the style guide. And because you know me, I'm a little picky when it comes to how Sonic figures are scaled. Not plushes, surprisingly, but mostly figures. And even though Eggman is taller than Sonic, he's not tall enough, because if you look at the style guide, you can see that Eggman towers over Sonic and friends. So I'd say if there's an action figure of Eggman that would be in scale with the Jakks figures, I'd probably say the Toy Island figure from 2 decades ago might be in really good scale. Hopefully, Jakks will make a 6-inch Eggman someday. Maybe in like a 3-pack with Sonic and Tails, you know, similar to how they did with the Bowser Lava Battle set that came with Mario, Bowser, and the Bob-omb. Maybe they could release a 3-pack like that and make an exclusive Eggman figure that's more in an accurate scale. Though I'm not complaining about Eggman's scale, you know, that much compared to, like, say, the Jazzer's Tales, because the Eggman from Jakks can actually scale with the Tomy figures. And that's basically how the scaling of Sonic and Eggman should be. and it's pretty good. In fact, that's kind of actually the reason why I got the bendable figure, was just so I could put him next to the 3-inch figures I had, you know, just because I didn't have a Jazzwares Eggman. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be displaying my Jakks Eggman figure with my 3-inch Sonic figures. He's replacing this guy. So now let's take a look at the figure himself, and he has a fantastic sculpt. He might be, even though the Toy Island Eggman figure is probably my favorite figure of the Mad Scientist, I definitely feel like that this is probably the best figure of him out there, like sculpt-wise. His plastic is a little hard, but not that much. I know some people complain because they added articulation in the ankles. Some people don't really like it that much, but I don't really mind it. And you know, same with you know, the details in the sleeves. I think it's just because I feel like when it comes to like way things are articulated, I kind of feel like clothing is like passable, unlike underbellies of Sonic characters. Because you know how like the Jazzwares 3-inch figures had like these waist joints that were, I mean, it wasn't bad that they had waist joints. It's just the reason why it made some of them bad was just because characters like Sonic who have these large underbellies, when you like move the torso, like it doesn't look good. I mean, like it's like if you were making an action figure of Babs from Tiny Toon Adventures and she had like a rotation in the waist, it definitely wouldn't really look good because her white underbelly like wouldn't work with a waist joint. I'm kind of actually glad that Jakks Pacific did not add waist joints on the figures. I mean, they were never really that necessary to begin with. Though you would think, judging by the back, this weird gap, you'd think Eggman would have a waist joint, but he doesn't, which I'd say I'm glad he doesn't, but that line there is not really that great. But you mostly see Eggman in the front, so it's not really a huge issue. I feel like it's time now that I talk about the articulation. His head rotates, but his mustache can kind of get in the way. Universal joints in the shoulders, they can go up and down and move forwards and backwards. Same with his universal elbow joints. I mean, they can move anywhere. He has ball joints in the wrists, though I kind of feel like they're a lot stiffer on mine. Also, not to mention that be careful because don't break his fingers, because he has very fragile fingers. Universal joints in the hips. I'd say you could only probably move Dr. Eggman in like this pose because this is as far as he could go in terms of like trying to get him into like a running pose. Yeah, like that. Actually, no, that's actually not that bad, to be honest. Of course, his knees bend down, but they can also move sideways. And he also has ball joints in the ankle, which are pretty stiff when it comes to being a ball joint. Not a bad figure. I definitely say, in terms of my favorite Sonic figures from the first wave, I'd probably say Tails is probably my favorite, and Eggman might be my second favorite. I'm not so sure. I mean, I like all 4 of these figures, really. So yeah, so overall I think my only criticism with Eggman is that he doesn't scale with his own figures, but I can't really hate it on it that much because he actually does scale with the 3-inch figures from Jazzwares and Tomy. And not to mention that another criticism is that line on the back is not that appealing. And I guess my only real criticism would probably have to be maybe his mustache is a little too orange, but that's probably just me. So yeah, so overall, Eggman is a great figure. He's really well articulated, like he has the best sculpt of any Eggman figure, and he scales with the Jazzwares and Tomy figures, so I definitely would probably have to give Eggman maybe a B+. He's definitely, I mean, I guess his accessory is a little weak, but like everything else, like pretty solid overall. So thank you for watching this video, and have a great weekend.